There's a great saying that goes, when it rains, it pours. And right now, this nigga Joe Budden is going through a monsoon, bro. Listen, man, this is the Blake check. Let me just catch y'all up on everything going on right now with Joe Budden and the Joe Budden podcast. All right, man. So listen, over the weekend, it has been an explosion in the world of Joe Budden and the Joe Budden podcast. Um, as I previously reported, he had a falling out with his guys about a week ago when he threw them off the podcast. Now, the guys, Rory and Maul, they linked up and they did a one-off. They sold it for $2. I think it was Vimeo. They put it behind a $2 paywall. Didn't take long before the internet grabbed it up, threw it on YouTube for free, and so basically they made their points of Joe was supposed to open up the books because they were under a contract which made them profit share partners, which means pretty much however much of the net income after everything, they would get a certain percentage of whatever that would be. Uh, so that's where they said that all of this was going on. They said they tried to that Joe's team or the accountants that they had were sending them all type of BS, Microsoft Excel spreadsheets talking about this is the accountant, and then they sent them one with a 400 and something $1,000. They said error, and then they had to clear that up as well. And basically, they just dispelled a lot of things that Joe said. Maul made it clear that he wasn't just somebody uh, pretty much sucking off the life force of Joe, and that he was doing his own thing when he first met Joe, and that he wasn't just a hanger on either. And that Rory clarified as well, like I came in here when it was on the ground level of the operation, and it's a certain level of respect that they both feel entitled to, and more than anything else, they felt as though Joe has changed on them. And it's bigger than the money, that more so they started this as friends and with respect, and they feel as though that friend and respect dynamic has been thrown out the window as he's continued to amass wealth and wear weird clothes. So once they aired all of that out, Joe was quick to go to Instagram and say that, my brothers is hurting, that, there's some things that they don't understand, and they were, they were on a different type of contract than the contract that they let the people know that they were under. Cool. All right. It's kicking a dead horse at this point. What's done is done, right? But then Monday morning, um, Olivia Dope, who was once on the Joe Budden Network on one of his podcasts called See the Thing Is, around episode 16, I believe it was, Joe came on and she came full with timestamps of Joe appearance was the reason behind her leaving the pod because of sexual harassment. It ain't even you can't even really say allegations at this point because she brought the timestamps, like the receipts has been in front of us all of this time. It's been glaringly obvious, based on some of the discomfort that she expressed during the podcast with the timestamps. You can see certain things happening and occurring where she was visibly, uh I wouldn't say like visibly upset because she smiled through some things, but there are people who even when they're uncomfortable. Listen, I got a sister like that. My sister, she could be wild uncomfortable, but she's gonna smile and smirk through the situation just to get through the situation. But you never know how people are impacted personally sometimes when it comes to these type of things. And she expressed that she was greatly impacted. And that Joe made several passes at her about wanting to fuck her and things like that throughout the whole podcast. They took a break. They say she said he came back to try to clear the air, and he went back at it, and even to the point he asked for a hug and started making grinding motions. And it's really like one of those situations where, as men, sometimes guys, we think to ourselves like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. I was just playing with you. I was just joking with you. But you have to sometimes, as a man, just dial it back for a second and say to yourself, all right, let's be objective about the situation. This was my mom. This was my sister, and she's coming in here to get some work done and try to, build build her brand and build something here. And the person overseeing her is constantly trying to throw his dick on the table. You know what I mean? Like, you're gonna feel some type of way in terms of like, yo, this guy's disrespecting my loved one. So when you look at it like that, there's no refuting, there's no challenging. Like, Joe was completely 100% out of pocket. Um, you know, this is something that he's gonna have to figure out how to address. Joe's very active on social media. I seen his socials was quiet yesterday. It's almost like he shut everything down yesterday. Uh, there's a pod that usually comes out, on the Wednesday mornings. I'm recording this on Tuesday, so we'll see if he drops a pod tomorrow, if they go on hiatus, whatever the results is going to be, because this not only affects Joe. This affects the podcast. This affects his whole network because his other two podcasts that's on his network are all female podcasts. So this is just going to be an interesting time. Like they said, man, when it rains, it pours. Um, you know, it's just going down right now in the world of Joe Budden, and he's an asshole, but he's an entertaining asshole, and he always continues to remain in the news cycle and figure out ways to be controversial without even trying to be controversial. But it'll be interesting to see how Joe responds or reacts to this. Joe has been one in the past when the whole thing came up with Sin Santana and the court documents about whether he was jerking off a dog and all of that. He still showed up to pod that day. When the whole, domestic abuse allegations from Tahiri, he still showed up to pod. So Joe hasn't been one to ever duck the smoke. So will he stand tall, or is he gonna go shut things down for a little while and figure it out? I mean, if he shuts things down for a while, is it gonna make anything better if he comes back in 3 4 weeks, or would it just be better for him to just push through? He's got the eyes on him right now. There's a lot of people that's probably gonna be turned off by these things, but where does he go from now? You know, that'll be the big question. Teams falling apart, the network's falling apart. How's he gonna hold it down?